We're gathering today to remember and celebrate the life of our dear friend, Sarah Emily Bowling. And so I'm glad that you're here today. We're recording this. We want it to be available for friends and family beyond today. And so, as you know, Sarah passed away January 5th in 2021 this year. And so some of us felt that we really wanted to celebrate her life and remember her and celebrate her continued existence in whatever form that is in. So I'm glad that you're joining us today and are sharing in the love we have for Sarah. And so I've put together some remembrances from other people and some things that she has said and written, and some of my personal experience. And I wouldn't call this a religious service. This is just a celebration of a life. And but if you bring your faith into this as well and engage it, it is certainly welcome as well. So what we're going to begin with is music was a really big deal to Sarah. And so I've got a few songs throughout this service. And so we're going to begin by listening to a song, and I want it to be an invitation to before we get to that, yes, okay, so some opening words and some readings, and then we're going to have a time of meditation, remembrance, and prayer and silence. I'm going to start with a quote from Thomas Hardy, which is one of her favorite authors. And when I read this quote, it makes me think of Sarah. She was of the stuff which great men's mothers are made. She was indispensable to high generation, feared at tea parties, hated in shops, and loved at crisis. And I'll share a poem that she really liked called Good Bones by Maggie Smith. Life is short, though I keep this from my children. Life is short, and I've shortened mine in 1,000 delicious, ill-advised ways. 1,000 deliciously ill-advised ways I'll keep from my children. The world is at least 50% terrible, and that's a conservative estimate, though I keep this from my children. For every bird, there is a stone thrown at a bird. For every loved child, a child broken, a bagged, sunk in a lake. Life is short, and the world is at least half terrible. And for every kind stranger, there is one who would break you, though I keep this from my children. I am trying to sell them the world. Any decent realtor walking you through a real shithole chirps on about good bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful. And then I have a few things that things that she wrote that I came across and just captured and put into this that just kind of capture her. She wrote, so it's like 850 million degrees Kelvin with something around 170% humidity downtown. We have a mask rule for all public places. And oh my God, it's so hard to breathe in one. I wear one anyway because I'm not a monster person and just shamed a maskless man in my neighborhood bodega, which is a term I used lightly given that they charge $3 for a lemon. But he immediately left and I was given a free, locally baked artisanal cinnamon roll as a reward. Fuck yeah. I'm a collector. Dinosaurs, models, fossils, weird scarves, ugly European shoes, fantastic Japanese knives, stationery, music, jams and jelly I never consume, hair ties by the hundred, and perfume. But my biggest weakness is blazers, of which I own an unforgivable amount and haven't worn since February. Life just kind of empties out. Less a deluge than a drought. Less a giant mushroom cloud than an unexploded shell. It's really not at all too late to learn how to be more graceful within and around the world. You're probably your own best teacher. So listen, and listen closely to your heart. Be firm, be kind. Be kind to you. Be kind to them. Be kind to it all. Be flexible, pretty, gritty, and or shitty. The person to love most is yourself. Then you can dance. Then you get to dance with others and teach some rhythm, right? Right, right. I'm a dusty jewel in a burnt out crown, but I think I'm on the path to being shiny again. Big things are afoot. I just invite you to pray, grieve, be silent, meditate. Cocteau Twins, Heaven or Las Vegas. So I'm going to share some remembrances that have been shared with me. And you look at the picture there, first of all, you see these silver shoes. These were one of the many unique shoes that she had. She bought these in London. And then below you can see a picture she often posted of her bike in Arizona, where she liked to ride. And let me share a few things. This is from her Aunt Libby. Sarah Emily was full of surprises. The best surprise was when her mom, dad, and two sisters found out they were adding another to the family. Anne was 14 and Jane was 12 when Sarah was born, February 12, 1972. A very good baby with lots of attention to get from them all. We met this sweet reddish blonde haired little girl in the summer of 1973. So full of life, smart and curious. She proved this many times throughout her short life. And we went to Canada to visit her in 2007. And the one thing she asked of me was to show her how our Polish grandmother, Babcia, made pierogies. The fun we had and the mess we made was well worth the visit. I am Sarah's Aunt Libby. Always and forever in my heart, she will be. Gone, but never forgotten. This is from her friend Dana or Dana. I was thinking about Sarah today and how she would do her polls, like, what is your spirit animal, or something along those lines. If you were friends with her, you know what I mean. I met Sarah through a work connection, and we became friends and saw each other several times socially. She was so insightful with advice and always saw things in a way that I didn't. And I always appreciated her advice. Last spring, I was able to give her advice, which was a first in our relationship. It was always the other way around. I wish I had followed through and checked up more on her. Life can be so hard and busy. I miss her so much, even though I didn't really see her much. I miss you, Sarah. This is from her friend Anne Marie. Sarah was my neighbor and dear friend in middle school before she moved to live with her sister. We reconnected for a visit as adults about 20 years ago. Even as a middle schooler, Sarah was so wildly brilliant, funny, and outrageous. There was no one like her. And of course, she was never meant to be a middle school girl and was chronically discontent and uninspired by life in our small town. I enjoyed her friendship tremendously and was devastated when she left. Following her through these last years, her struggles were evident. Equally clear was her intellect, generosity, and her trademark sardonic humor. Everyone likes to think that they're different, but Sarah actually was. The world lost a kind, generous, and tragically vulnerable soul. May she finally rest at peace. And may her family, especially Elliot, know that she will be missed. Safe at home, old friend. This is from her friend Lee. Some words to describe Sarah: vibrant, wild, free, loving, sharp, witty, clever, observant, creative. Our first year of college, community college at Richland in Dallas, I was working on my first English paper and she was my editor. And I kept spelling the word separate wrong, inserting an E where I shouldn't. And she said, remember, there is a rat in separate. To this day, I think of her when I type that word. If she were here today, she would tell us all to live life to the fullest, to be kind to each other, to love each other, and find beauty in our everyday. She would also tell us not to take any bullshit from anyone. Some random thoughts. Sarah was a lover. She loved life, her friends, her treasures, her travels. She was too smart for her own good, and she knew it. Her life ended too early, and her spirit will stay strong in my heart. We reconciled our friendship just a handful of years ago after many years separated. And although it was still a challenging relationship, I loved her and will forever love her. I think she will keep teaching us things from the galaxy her spirit lives in now. I feel strongly in my heart that Sara will be rooting for all of us here on planet Earth so we can minimize our suffering. I believe she truly wants us to live in our own authenticity and feel joy and belonging. I know that's what she struggled for in her own life. I want to offer words of hope along with one of my own personal remembrances. I've known Sara for over 25 years. I loved her very much. Sara is, and I don't believe she will ever be a was. She is the most intelligent, witty to the point of hilarious, tender-hearted and wounded-hearted, poignant, charming person I have ever known. She loved her son, all kinds of music, Thomas Hardy literature, and baby alpacas called crias. She cared deeply about all living beings, especially the overlooked. I remember having a steak with her, and she said, "It's not very tender." And I said, "Well, it must have been an old cow." She burst into tears and exclaimed, "She didn't mean to be old." And as far as I know, she never ate meat again. She lived with the kind of childhood grief that one does not simply get over, but she never made excuses. She owned her shit, as she once told me. While writing a book, I was writing a book about praying with people, and I reached out to Sara because she was such an excellent writer and with such a keen eye, and I just was having trouble getting it together. And I tried to tell her what I was trying to do, but I had a hard time articulating it. And she barraged me with questions until I could finally spit something out that started to make sense. And it's what I needed. And it's what she does well. I asked her what she thought about praying with other people, and she said, that's terrifying. It's the most intimate thing that there is. Truer words were never spoken. And a few months later, she called me in an anxious state. "Paul, can you tell me why some people have much, much harder lives than others?" Excuse me. And I told her that I wasn't sure I had an answer to that question. And I dread that question. There's no good answer to that question. And many try to rationalize it away. We all suffer. Life is hard. But you do not have to be a pastor to know that there are most definitely some people who have a harder life than the rest of us. And it cannot always be explained away by saying that people bring it upon themselves, which is sometimes true. It's just a hard fact. And she said, "You're a pastor, Paul. You're supposed to have an answer for this." And I wish I did. And I just said, "What's going on, Sara?" And I already knew that she had lost her parents at a young age. I knew that she had more than her share of difficult relationships. I knew that she struggled with anxiety and depression. Within the last week, though, she had had another breakup, found out she was pregnant, and shortly found out that she had lost the baby. During the procedure, they discovered cancer, and it is not fair. It totally sucks. And there was silence. And then she asked, "Can we pray?" And don't make this into one of your stories. And I'll say that she later gave me permission to share this story. So that's why I share it with you today. But I knew how difficult it was for her to ask that question. So I began to pray. I lifted up her grief and her hurt and her anger, her loss, and I asked for healing of her body and her soul. I asked God to remove her depression and let her experience joy. At this point, she cut in with her own plea. "God, I would be satisfied with just not feeling miserable. You don't even have to make me feel great or joyful or happy. Just take away the misery I feel every day. I'm fine with okay. Within her voice lay a bare bones, honest expression of pain. It cut right into my heart, and I believe it cut into the heart of God as well, for he is infinitely more compassionate than I am. I closed the prayer by asking God to reveal God's self to her in whatever form would make sense to her. Sometimes what we really need is just to know God's there or someone. We talked for a while after that. She was clearly lighter in spirit, and we joked and told old stories. 2 weeks later, I got a text from Sara. It happened. What happened? God showed up. What? How? And she started by telling me that I might think she needs to be institutionalized. She was walking her dog down a wooded path the last evening when all of a sudden, what must have been thousands of fireflies converged upon her, enveloping her. A strange occurrence, especially when you consider that it was March and fireflies had at least another month before they began to appear in her region of the country. I asked her why she believed this was God showing up. She explained that the last time she had ever seen a firefly, she was a child at her grandparents' farm. The last time I truly felt happy, she said. A year later, she messaged me that she was cancer-free and that the very day she got the news, she was taking another walk in the woods and the fireflies found her again. She calls them God's glitter. Today is not a goodbye. Sara is not a was. She is and forever will be. A few months ago, I was out with my wife in an area of Dallas that Sara and I used to hang out. And as we were leaving the restaurant, my wife exclaimed, "Was that a firefly?" I have been missing fireflies since we moved from another state. I haven't seen fireflies in Dallas, as far as I know, ever. And I looked, and there was fireflies. And then there was more fireflies. And then there was more fireflies. I don't know. It was the moment that I thought I knew that she was out there, that she was okay, that I felt like she was telling us that she is found her new form in her new world, whatever that is. I just say that to encourage us all. So I don't know how and why she died, but I know that people that burn as brightly as Sara cannot be contained by this world. She has burst into the next. The joy and love of her life is and will always be her son, Elliot. He is a miracle to her. And loving him, she told me, transformed her. She said loving him saved her life. She wasn't perfect, but she desperately tried to be the best person she could be. And I believe she is whole and happy now. I believe she is with the parents that were taken from her too early, getting the love she always needed. I believe she is surrounded by light and love, baby alpacas and fireflies. She is at peace. She is God's glitter, and she will sparkle in our hearts and minds forever. This time, I want to again invite us to a time of reflection, prayer, silence, meditation. This is a song she shared with me a few years ago called "The Flat Earth" by Thomas Dolby. And they seem like, if you listen to the words, seem like words she might say to us today. the earth is in your hands. It's in our hands to bring love into it. At different parts in her life, Sarah celebrated her Irish heritage and her Jewish heritage. So I end with an Irish blessing and a Jewish blessing, and then we will be done. If God sends you down a stony path, may he give you strong shoes. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.